aims to raise awareness about the causes and risk factors for and of sexual violence.
It also aims to empower survivors and help others take steps to prevent it in their communities. Joining us to discuss all of this and more is Taylor Johnson from the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation. Taylor, good morning.
Hi, good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. This is an important conversation, and let's start with the very basic. What is sexual assault?
Yeah, so sexual assault is essentially any type of sexual contact or behavior that occurs without the consent of the recipient. And this includes rape and molestation. This includes sexual harassment in any setting, including online, exposing or flashing, groping, or any sort of unwanted sexual touching above or under the clothing, forcing a person to pose for sexual pictures, or also sharing or publicizing intimate pictures without consent.
What's up, people? And it's amazing at how often it occurs, and not just to women. A lot of men experience it as well.
What's going on with
Right,
y'all?
that's correct. It's estimated that someone experiences sexual assault in the U.S. every 73 seconds. It's also estimated that about 1 in 5 women are rape survivors, that 1 in 3 women and 1 in 6 men have experienced sexual violence in their lives, and that 1 in 4 men and 1 in 6 men were sexually abused before the age of 18. And it's also more likely for people to know their assailants, whether it's an intimate partner or an acquaintance, rather than it being a stranger, which is sort of commonly predicted or commonly displayed in the media and things like that. And it's also estimated that 3 out of every 4 sexual assaults are not reported. And despite data showing an increase in self-reports of rape and other sexual assault, there has been a decrease in reporting to the police. And a lot of this has to do with the stigma that exists around sexual assault.
Talk a little bit about that stigma and why that still exists.
Yeah. So it's very common for victims to feel ashamed, embarrassed, or fearful of being blamed, which often holds them back from telling police or their friends or their family. And a lot of this has to do with this rape culture that exists and feels the need to question irrelevant things like how much alcohol the victim consumed or how suggestive their clothing was. There's also this misconception that an incident can't be considered sexual assault if the victim didn't verbally tell the perpetrator no. And there are many reasons why someone might not explicitly say no. Some reasons might be fear of losing their job if their abuser is has a position of power over them. Some might not even know that they are experiencing sexual assault. And they may also fear that saying no could, put their lives at risk. And it's just important to remember that consent is not the absence of a no, it is the presence of an informed and freely given yes.
So what can people do to help survivors of sexual assault or sexual violence?
Yeah, that can be really tricky. And some of the best ways we can support, first and foremost, the best way we can support survivors is to believe them. It's important that we validate their feelings and express our concern. And it's also really important that we don't ask about the details unless they choose to give them to us. That includes, it can be very traumatizing for a victim to have to relive that experience. And some supportive things we could say to a survivor include telling them I believe them, telling them I'm so sorry this happened to you. You didn't deserve what happened to you. What happened to you is not your fault. You're not alone. I care about you and I'm here to listen and help you in any way I can. Those are just some of the best ways that we can really be there for our people if they're experiencing any sort of sexual violence in their lives.
And the resource that people can turn to if they need more information?
Yeah, so the National Women's Coalition Against Violence and Exploitation is a national anti-violence nonprofit. And so our website, nwcave.org/help, has a long list of hotlines and legal resources. And also our partners at the No More Foundation at nomore.org and RAINN.org, which is RAINN.org. They have a ton of resources and information for their sites for people who have experienced sexual assault and who are also just, and other people who are also just looking for resources and information about how to help their loved ones. And another great resource is your local YWCA. They have a lot of great resources that are specific to helping victims and survivors of sexual assault.
Well, it's good that people know that there are places to go where they can receive help, including legal help as well. So, Taylor, really, thanks so much for joining us and talking about this.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, April is
Okay, so let's get into this real quick. April is Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I was listening to a content creator. Shout out to TOUGHLOVE. And I was listening to her video earlier this morning, and she was talking about black men talking about things that really doesn't equate to any substance. And she definitely mentioned the fact that there are a lot of people being sexually assaulted, and we never really have the conversation. So I wanted to come and have the conversation. On my channel, I've spoken to both men and women who've been sexually assaulted, and they've given their stories, their testimonies on how they've kind of worked through that issue in regards to what has happened to them, where they are in life right now, how it pertains to them actually being in a relationship, the medicine or the things that they do to kind of continuously heal, because I don't think that's something you ever really get over. It's just something that you deal with moving forward. As a former unit victim advocate in the military, I can tell you that I've dealt with the pros and the cons of dealing with people who've been sexually assaulted. When I say the pros, we've gotten those victims justice. We worked it out to a scale where we got the details and we got them to the right place at the right time in a timely fashion. The cons is some people do, unfortunately, lie about some of the things that happen or whatever. But I wanted to have this quick, dialogue with you guys, and also give you some information in regards to sexual assault. The reason why a lot of black men don't talk about it is because they don't know how to. Let's just get right into the situation. A lot of black men and women and communities are not ready to have this conversation because, one, they don't know how to have the conversation. They don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to look like they're not being supportive. They don't want to look like they're not being caring. They don't want to look like they're not providing empathy or sympathy for the situation. So a lot of people shy away from this conversation. So you'll see more women talking about sexual assault than you'll see men talking about sexual assault. Does that make it right? No. Does that make it right? Because when you go to a person's page, especially if we're talking about men or black men, a lot of times we're talking about things that really have no substance and have no value, depending on what's going on. So now that it is April, we know us talking about it gets us laughed at. Okay, let's get into that. But now that April is here and it is Sexual Assault Awareness Month, I'm hoping that every content creator, regardless of the color, nationality, race, or gender, I'm hoping that everyone puts some type of information up to promote this conversation. We need to have this conversation with our friends, family members, definitely our children. And I think a lot of times when you talk about sexual assault, we go straight to maybe our little girls, but we never think about the little boys. And when I had the conversation with a fellow military member of mine, he was talking about how when he went through what it is that he went through, being sexually assaulted, there was no Me Too movement for young boys. There were no campaigns to be like, boys too. There was nothing really developed and being promoted. And he said he felt lonely and embarrassed because it was like, well, they cared more about little girls than they did little boys. So he grew up with this shame, like, who can I run to? Who can I tell? And he really expressed a lot of concern about really formulating something for young boys as well. I realize that females lead the way when it comes to being verbal about things. A lot of men internalize things. They deal with it their own type of way. It's not cool to speak out about certain things. We talk about mental illness, but a lot of times we get to a point where people don't want to hear if men have a problem. It's not cool. It's not macho. It's not grown manish to say that you as a man have a problem, whether it's with your finances, whether it's with you emotionally. They don't want to hear about your abuse. They just say, hey, man up, get through it. Unfortunately, that's not how people get through it healthy. That's not how they heal. So a lot of times you have people who go through things and they don't have the support system. They don't know for some reason how to research or how to tap into resources. So I want this to be an outlet for people, for not only men and women, but young boys and young girls, to be able to say, hey, this is an outlet where I can go and get support. So hopefully you guys heard that email in reference to the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. But you can also Google it. They have a hotline that you can call to get some support or whatever case it be. No one can tell you how to get over being a victim of something. The only thing that we can hope for, being spectators, being supporters, is that you find a way to heal. You find a way to take that situation and not implode. You find a way to deal with that situation. So hopefully we encourage men and women and young boys and girls to seek assistance. But let's get into why men don't talk about it. Man, you know, this is not a conversation. We talk about sports out loud, you know what I'm saying? We talk about golfing, we talk about, you know, shit. Some people talk about relationships. Definitely talk about child support, right? So we talk about all of these things. We're verbal about it. We're saying, hey, we don't like this. Hell to the hell no. All right. We're very vocal about certain things, and there's certain things that we as men we shy away from. I think DD Love was hitting on some things today. I think she definitely was hitting on some things or whatever. I just personally think that men are more comfortable talking about other things that don't require being vulnerable. You know, it don't require being vulnerable. A lot of times when I hear men, like she mentioned the piece about child support, she said there's a lot of men complaining about child support who don't give a damn about their kids. They would rather just complain about it. They would rather complain about the women. You know what I'm saying? And me personally, I've definitely seen child support be weaponized against good men. I've seen it. You know, I've definitely sat in conversation with people who said, I only did it because he wouldn't talk to me no more. I only did it because he got a new girlfriend. I only did it because X, Y, and Z. And really the reason didn't validate just wanting to make sure that the child was taken care of. It didn't validate that. So I understand that. But should there be some place where men can go and have a conversation where they can be vulnerable? Should there be a place where they're talking about things with sincerity? And it's not about, you know, who's popular. It's not about who's famous. It's just about what's real, what's right. And I think that that's where we differ when it comes to substance. Talking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month, I can be honest with you. I went to like just 10 random YouTuber pages that were African American. Nobody was talking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. And it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Nothing on their page in regards to this particular issue or whatever. And I think that's the reason why we need people to kind of keep their ear to the ground and kind of promote what's actually happening in real time. You know what I'm saying? What's happening in real time. I'm going to be honest with you. Sometimes we get lost in the foolery and the messery. You know what I'm saying? Riding dirty. What's going on, man? I see y'all guys in the chat room. Sometimes we get lost in the foolery and I'm trying not to drop the F-bomb right now. But we get lost in the nonsense and we really don't know what's going on right now. And right now it's Sexual Assault Awareness Month. So to me, that should be a hot topic. You see what I'm saying? A topic that we talk about, maybe do some interviews, maybe promote. Here, I'm in Houston, Texas. Hey, this is where you go if you have this issue. There is a 1-800 hotline number that you can call if you are a victim of sexual assault. Let's get to our kids, though. Let's get to our kids. A lot of times when we talk about sexual assault, we normally don't talk about the adults. And if we do, we only talk about the women, right? Let's talk about the children, though. Let's say that your child comes to you and says, that, the boyfriend or the girlfriend or a friend of the family, some adult took advantage of them. I think some parents are disconnected from their children to the point where they feel like as long as I provide you with materialistic stuff, as long as I keep you, dripping, you know what I'm saying? As long as I give you monetary things in reference to money. Hey, you can use my car. You know what I'm saying? Hey, hell, you can even smoke weed and cigarettes in my house. As long as you occupy, I'm good as a parent. I've done my job. But also we forget that we also have to listen to our children. We also have to know their habits. We have to know, when they're withdrawn from things or whatever. I think as parents, we get so caught up in providing the necessities that we forget the basics. If that makes sense. We check the block, somewhere to stay. Lights on. They got oodles and noodles and water in the house. We good, right? They got soap. They got toothbrush. So we do a great job at providing the necessities, but we forget about the basics, which is communication, which is awareness. And sometimes we're not aware of what our children are doing. Like you as a parent, or let's just say us as parents, you don't know that your kid has started having sex yet. You don't know that your kid used drugs. You don't know that your kid is the alcohol is leaving out the cabinet or whatever. It ain't till you go, you like, I thought I had more alcohol in this bottle. You see what I'm saying? You don't know that your kids are joining gangs. So there's a lot of things that we don't monitor as parents that someone needs. Sometimes you need that reminder, that tap on the shoulder to be like, hey, don't forget to check on your kids. Don't forget to look at a cell phone or look at a laptop or go in their room. And it's not about being nosy. That's parenting. And I think a lot of people feel like, okay, well, their parents were strict on them, so I'm going to give my child a lot of leeway. And sometimes you give them so much leeway that they're caught out there. They're caught out there, and now they're in a whole bunch of stuff. But in regards to sexual assault, you got to look at some things. Something happens to your child. Let's say, your boyfriend or girlfriend, they said that your boyfriend or girlfriend violated them. What do? Do you believe the boyfriend or the girlfriend over your child? Do you believe your child over the boyfriend or girlfriend? I've seen, being a military veteran, I've seen some sick shit. I'm about to read this in 1 minute. Give me 1 second. I've seen some sick stuff. I've seen women choose men over their children. I've seen men choose women over their children. And whereas it would take a stranger to stand up for the child. It would take a stranger to stand up for the child. I had this one soldier who was dating a civilian guy. And she wanted to be with this guy so bad that she was allowing this guy to take advantage of her teenage daughter, because she just would not believe, like he was in a whole full-blown relationship with both of them. Like when she's gone, he's with her. And then when he comes back, everybody acts like mum's the word or whatever. And what ended up happening is that the female, the young girl, the teenager, she ended up telling the neighbor's daughter, and the neighbor's daughter told the mom, and the mom got in contact with the chain of command, and the chain of command pulled the soldier in and said, do you know, we have evidence that your child is sleeping with an adult. Someone is sleeping with your child. So I was like, but here's the issue. After being confronted, she didn't put the guy out. She didn't put the guy out. She continued to date the guy. I was like, ain't no way. Shit. It ain't no way in hell. Like I've just seen some things that really baffle you or whatever. But let's just say your child is a little bit younger and they're not consenting to sex. They're being forced into it. They're being, told that if you tell your parents, this is what we're going to do, or X, Y, and Z. So I just think that your kids should be comfortable enough to come talk to you. You should know what your children's triggers are, the things that they like, so you can tell when they shy away from it. If you guys are used to talking every day, you have that rapport, and they stop talking to you, or they stop doing their favorite things, and they're isolated. Now they're wearing all black, and now all they listen to is a different type of music that they wouldn't normally listen to. They losing weight, they're not eating. They're always angry. I think that we as parents need to do a better job at communicating with our children, because if we don't, what happens is they find a way to cope, a coping mechanism that may cost them their life. That may cost them their life. You see what I'm saying? When I was in a group home, I was in there with so many people, especially it was males and females, but I was in there with females, and every single one of them said that they were molested or the R word at some point in time. Every single one of them. It wasn't too many guys saying it, but every female that was in there with me in that group home was like, we'd sit around and do our little group time or whatever, and it's just like, story after story. Now, it wasn't that they just hurried up and volunteered the information, but when you're in a group home for like 6 months, to a year, you grow accustomed that these guys and girls become your brothers, your siblings, and you look out for one another, whatever. So when you feel comfortable, you share your story. And I always used to feel so bad for these. I always used to say, man, if I have children, I'm never gonna let my kids out my sight, because ain't no way in hell. And they always used to tell these stories, and it's like, it's not a just get over it type situation. It's not, so what type situation. And I don't know, I always used to, my heart always used to go out to them or whatever. So I always said, I would never want to let my kids go stay over here at a parent's house that I don't know. Or between a certain age, I don't want my child somewhere where, I just really have an infinity of saying, I don't want my child to be somewhere with someone I don't trust. You know what I'm saying? I think it's important for your child to be able to speak, be able to point, and be able to call you and say, hey, this is what's going down, or whatever case may be. And I don't want my children to ever feel like they're defenseless. And I feel like a lot of these females that I sat down when we was in a group home with, they felt defenseless. Like that's they felt defenseless. They felt unprotected, unappreciated, unloved. And I noticed it's a pattern. It's a certain pattern, and where these men, some family members, they took advantage of these children because they knew, oh man, I'm about to piss somebody off. They took advantage of your children because they knew that the parents wasn't shit. They knew you wasn't talking to your kid. They knew that your kid, if they had a problem, they wasn't going to come to you. They knew that you was going to be too busy worrying about your new relationship, worrying about your new job, worrying about the club. They knew that you were going to be preoccupied, and it was free reign on your kid. I'm telling y'all. Y'all want the truth? Y'all want tough love? Let me give it to you. They knew that it was open season on your kid. That's why a lot of people choose to violate particular kids. Because they watch, the person that's wants to violate your kids, they're watching your behavior as a parent. Well, I always leave my kid home alone. I always, just leave a couple dollars. Or you order you a pizza or some Chinese food. You good, you playing the Nintendo, you straight, you good. I'll be back later. Mom, dad gone, they gone till 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. Child had been home all night by themselves. Then you wonder, how did this happen to my child? You ain't never home. You ain't never home. You didn't have 1 or 2 words with the neighbor. So now you're like, oh yeah, the neighbor could just watch my kid. Hey, do me a favor. Go ahead over there and watch me. But the neighbor got a revolving door of people who go to jail and come back. Right? And they're looking at your child, whether it's a boy or a girl. There's this revolving door where the neighbor now is dating all types of men. Hell, the neighbor don't even know what type of man she dating, right? So you got your child over there. So you out and about living your best life, right? Living your best life. And your child is over at the neighbor's house while you gone living your best life. And then when your child comes home, you notice that your child ain't acting like your child. But you don't find out until days later, because you know how you do, right? It's all about the turn up, right? Right? So this is the type of video that make you sit back and say, damn, this dude talking some shit right now. Because this is what we do. And I'm not talking about we as black people. I'm saying people in general. Because when those statistics was being read, she didn't say, well, this happens in black homes. This happens in Hispanic homes. This happens in Caucasian homes. No, across the board. We got to have the tough conversations. I'm not trying to argue about no car wash. I'm not trying to argue about who got the most shots in a game. There's no substance behind a lot of these conversations. So when DD Love was talking, I said, you're exactly right. We arguing as men about things that really don't mean nothing at the end of the day. Some people say, black women are the most unprotected. You know who I think is the most unprotected? Smart people. People with common sense. People with common sense are the most unprotected. Because you'll have someone telling you common sense shit and you won't protect them. You won't defend them. You won't support them. You won't help them. Let's just be real. Let's just be real. Somebody remind you, do you got life insurance? But before you go buy that blunt, before you go buy some hair, before you go to the club, and before you go and drop all that money in a strip club, do you have life insurance? Oh, that ain't the message we want to hear. Before you drop your kid off, because it's time to go hit the club and it's time to go take that cruise and it's time to go do this or whatever case may be. Do you know where your kid is going? Do you know how many people are going to be frequently inside and out that house? I seen a live about 6 months ago, and this lady, for some reason, everybody brung their kids to her house. She's sitting on a live smoking weed and drinking. You got dirty diapers all on the wall. I think it was like some, I don't know what type of bugs it was. I don't want to call it it probably was roaches crawling all on the wall. And I'm like, who would take their kids to this house? Who is desperate enough to go out and go live their best life and can you imagine taking your kid to the slaughterhouse? Can you imagine taking your kid to the zoo? Go be free. Set us free. We put our kids in the worst conditions and we expect the best outcome. We expect the best outcome. That goes from schools, that goes from living conditions, that goes from your evolving relationships or revolving relationships. It's like we put our kids in the worst conditions and we expect the best outcome. Case in point, I'm a single parent. Boom, my child is right here. I'm dating multiple women, right? None of these women are role models. They're inspiring Instagram models, inspiring strippers. Here's the thing. Aspiring to do all of these things that don't have anything to do with being a role model. Not being overly aggressive or disrespectful. Not actually being able to have a conversation. Every single thing that I bring around my child is an example of what I say is cool in front of my child. Every single thing, every woman. The way she walks, the way she talks, the way she eats, what she has accomplished. Those things are the things that I say that's important in front of my children. Yeah, this is what I like. Well, if that's what daddy likes, shit, I should become what daddy likes as well. Because I think my daddy's a good guy. So if my daddy like it, maybe I can find somebody. Come on, how many women out there and how many men out there date someone that's like your parents? Say your parents was providers, protectors, and role models, and you say, hey, I want a man like that, I want a woman like that. Suppose your parents provide bad examples. Always arguing, toxic as fuck, narcissist. I mean, I'm just saying, can't communicate to save their life. Every other day, it's just like, oh my God, hell done broke loose. I think a lot of people, I'm going to be honest with you, they have children in the most toxic situations. They have children in the most toxic situations and they expect the greatest outcome. Both parents toxic. The man and the woman is toxic. That's why it's so easy for your children to be unprotected. We're talking about Sexual Assault Awareness Month. It's so easy. Hey, you go stay with your mom this weekend, or it's your 2 weeks to be with your mom. Okay, cool. Shit, hey, look, I got a date tonight, and I didn't drop some money over here, blah, 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 da, 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 da. Oh, go stay with your dad. Oh, look, I didn't drop some money. So ain't nobody raising a kid. The streets is raising the kid. Kids raising kids. Kids raising themselves. TV, Love and Hip Hop, raising your kids. The latest rap song or Beyonce song is raising your kid. WAP is raising your kids. Kevin Gates and Little Boosie is raising your kids. Hold on, no shade, no shot. Here we go. Little Nas X is raising your kids. And then you wonder why your kids coming out. Like, why you got on these, as a boy, you got on these tight pink ass pants? What's going on? We lack communication skills as people. We lack interactions. See, let me this is what and I'm about to piss somebody off. This is what I'm noticing, right? The type of logic that we have here on YouTube, on social media, period. You got people that got street common sense. You got people that have, let's talk about logic, right? We got street logic. We got institutional, and I'm not talking about like prison system. I'm talking about higher learning, right? So we got higher learning, institutional logic. We got street logic. We have common sense logic, but we got drunk logic too. We got people who deliberately get drunk, and then see, here's the thing. Then you get people like everybody gets on a panel, and you got every type of logic on that panel. That panel promotes dysfunction. That panel never promotes solutions. You have people that's on that panel just to disagree with whatever you say. So you have logic that is proven to work. Then you have people that says, well, I'm just here to disagree with you. That type of panel is going to be dysfunctional. And I can understand when DD Love says, damn, we don't never get to the real conversation. We so busy worrying about things that don't matter. And I think that's the downfall that we have. We so busy worried about the things that don't matter. Arguing about it. Who like who? Who's popular? Who's not? And it's like, well, what's true and what's not? What's true and what's not? This is what I notice about people's truth. There's the truth, their version, and their version. And this is what I notice. I notice that a person will tell you their lie about the truth. God damn. They'll tell you their lie about the truth to pull on your heartstrings, to get whatever products and services they can get out you, whatever monetary value they can get out you. Maybe a ride to work. Hey, maybe a couple dollars. Maybe it's something they can get from you, some validation, some affirmation. I notice that everybody always likes to tell their version of their lie that they told themselves, that they worked on in the mirror, that they can pull you in on and say, maybe I can get them with this story. But this is what I noticed. I listen for the truth. Because even within the lie, you're going to hit on the truth at some point in time, because you just can't. In order to sell the lie, you got to tell portions of the truth. So me personally, I listen for the truth. I know that when you come to me, you seek me out, whether you go live, whether social media wise, or whether you come to me face to face. I know you're just telling me your version of the lie. You telling me your version of the lie. And see, whereas it's important, the person that's telling the story, it's also important to realize the people that listen to the story. What type of character and value do they have? What type of integrity do they have? Because here's the thing, person like me, if you tell me a story, I know that you're only telling me your version of the lie. Because you're telling me something to win favor with me, to win support from me. So you're telling me your part, right? You might hit on their part, but the part I'm listening for is the most important part, the truth. What's right? What's right? And I noticed that on a lot of these panels, I noticed that on a lot of these channels, you know, their version of the truth or their version of the lie only benefits them. It's not about what's right. It's not about what's true. It's only their version So that way, either one, it gets me likes, it gets me shares, it gets me donations, it gets me popularity, but it's really not, it really has no value or substance to it. So when Dee Love was saying, well, when do we get to the real conversation? I'm like, well, shit, where you been at, sis? Pull up. Pull up. Because I think that when we talk about having a tough conversation, it's not about whose side. It's about what's right. Because if you walk away with what's right, guess what? You always going to be on the right side of things. So it's not about being overly emotional. It's not about being overly aggressive. It's not about being overly confrontational. It's about saying, well, what's right? As a gentleman, you see a woman struggling with her grocery bags or whatever. Should you help her? Well, let's look at the versions of truth. Let's look at my side, her side, and the truth. Well, her side, she independent. She don't need no man's help. My side is, well, you know what? Let me weigh if she look good or not. But the right thing to do would be to help her. The right thing to do. So forget how he feels, how she feels. What's the right thing to do? That's how we operate over here. What's the right thing to do? What's the actual truth? Not my version of it, not your version of it, but what's the actual truth? Ladies and gentlemen, listen for the truth. Because everybody's going to tell you even including me, going to tell you their version of the lie. Even though that they call it truth, it's still a version of the lie. Anything that is not true is a lie. So everyone is going to tell you their version of the lie. Listen for the truth. So that way you can decide for yourself. Don't follow anybody blindly. Don't say because you're popular, I'm gonna follow you. Listen for the truth. Is there truth in what you're saying? Because you can take that truth anywhere. You can promote that anywhere. Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Are you promoting awareness? As a content creator, as a man, as a woman, as someone that subscribed to a channel, are you involved with anything promoting awareness for young men, young women, men, women, community? Are you saying that, hey, this is where you go get help? Are you giving people that have been victims of sexual assault awareness a platform, somewhere they can go and be encouraged and inspired to continue their road to being victorious, their road to becoming the best them, their road to calling themselves a champion and no longer a victim? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Mario J. This is tough love. Until next time, I doubt up. Peace.